You read the title, you know what it is. Season 4, just in time for Season 5, like, day before I finished talking about. I just saw the finale of Season 4, and we're going to talk about it. I'm going to go by storyline simply because I think that's the best way to do it, just to keep track of everything. And also, there's so much going on, and I have read the books again, so I am going to compare. Now, this season was based off of one book. Not one book. It was based off of a third of it, or maybe a third to a quarter of Storm of Swords, like the last third or quarter. And ultimately, I think this was the best decision to make. I mean, it's a dense story, and there's a lot of stuff in here I feel like could have been rushed. I mean, ideally, I feel like they should have just been given like another 5 episodes, because there are some stories that really benefited from all this time. And then there's other stories that I felt like really were sort of drawn out, and we were just playing a check-in. Like, there were like 3 stories in particular that I just sort of felt like they didn't really go anywhere, and honestly, like, you could have done these stories in like a couple episodes and it would have been fine. Specifically, I feel like Bran's story really wasn't much of anything. Like, it was just occasionally we'd check in with Bran walking north. But I think we only saw him, like, in 3 episodes. And, I mean, to be fair, it's based off of, like, something from Dance with Dragons, which ultimately there does not much happen to begin with. And I will talk about Dance with Dragons, but I just want to do this show just because it's fresh in my mind right now. But, yeah. The wall was really padded. And again, I really liked the season, but I just wanted to get the ugly stuff out of the way first. I mean, it's like, remember in Helm's Deep how in Two Towers, how they just kept building up, building and building and building and building and building up that battle? This is that times 10. Like, so many episodes of just them cutting to them. So many episodes of just Gritty and the Wildings walking there, and, like, it's to a point where Gritty's, the battle, I don't know, Gritty's death is as big simply for the fact that we haven't seen them together for so long, whereas in the book it's just a few chapters. Here it's like an eternity. It's like, jeez. And I mean, the wall battle was really well done, I think, overall. Visually really stunning, way better than anything in the Hobbit movies. Like, clearly inspired by Lord of the Rings. I mean, you have, like, grit, you have impressive visuals. I mean, like, the fact that they're able to pull something this big and epic off on a TV show, and like, I mean, there were a couple moments where you could see the limitations, but still, really well done for a show. I mean, the only downside I can think of is that, and I guess this is the problem with the book, is that everything in the North just feels really disconnected from all the other stories. Like, all the other stories, like, even Daenerys' story on, like, all the way across the world, I feel like they find a way to connect it to the rest of the story, and especially in Dance of Dragons. And if you haven't read the books, Season 5, Daenerys' story is going to finally start linking up with everyone else's. And yeah, really well done. Stannis' story also was a bit drawn. Not as bad, but there were just so many moments of them cutting to him. Like, if in the books, Davos gives Stannis the letter, and then the next time we see Stannis is when he shows up to save everyone. But here's the thing, because we're just taking a chunk of a book and stretching it out, certain character stories got stretched, and which ultimately meant that, and the writers often feel like they need to put, like, several characters need to frequently appear on the show, so Stannis' story got stretched out a bit. There was one character whose story I thought was stretched out a bit, but it was handled much better, and that was Arya's story. Arya's story, I will admit, got stretched out, because in the book, like, the Hound does die, but he dies much earlier, like, in the bar fight, which was pretty cool. He gets stabbed, that wound that hurts him. In the book, it's fatal, and the whole Arya not giving him mercy thing plays out more or less the same. But and here's the thing, that happens right after the Red Wedding. Now, and again, because it's the book, and in the book, like, again, it was like the last chunk, so you could only, like, 2 or 3 more Arya chapters was enough. But in a show, you have like 10 episodes you need to cover. You can't just have Arya appear in like 2 episodes. So, which meant that section of the story had to be stretched. Although I thought that was a bit better, simply because I think these are just 2 characters who worked really well off each other. So it was fun enough just seeing these 2 interact. Like, just seeing them play off each other, seeing Arya finally get to be badass and go around killing people, I think that was cool enough. I mean, was it tighter in the book? Yes, but I think the show did a good job working around it. And I do like the confrontation, the way Arya's story resolves, which is different from the book. But in order to talk about that, I need to go back and talk about something else. So, Brienne's story is different from the book in several ways. For one thing is that Brienne leaves King's Land. First off, I just realized they never... Because in the books, like, they need Arya for a wedding, and Jaime just sends this girl who isn't Arya, so that leads me to wonder if there's this wedding that happens at some point in the book that's supposed to involve Arya, and I wonder if they're still doing that. Probably not. I mean, maybe they will, but I don't know. It's weird. Because that happens around the same... Or maybe it happens later, I digress. Sorry, spoilers for those who haven't read the books. But anyway, so Brienne's whole search for Arya, in the book, that's her entire story of Feast for Crows. And in the... I say and a lot, don't I? Feast for Crows. And I get it, I mean... And they handled it pretty well. I mean... They did cut a lot of Brienne's story out. I mean, a lot of it's just her walking around. But the show is really good at not making it feel like you're glossing over it. I mean, honestly, I would have loved to have seen a bunch of Brienne's adventures, but at the same time, I get it. Like, next season, they're combining 2 books in 1 season. Obviously, they need to take care of some of the stuff now in Season 4, or else Season 5 is going to be so cluttered, and they're not going to be able to get to the important stuff. Not to say this is important, but there's so much big stuff. It's like the less stuff you can have to worry about, the better. So, like, that's why they took care of Bran now. That's why they took care of this. They're cutting out some of the other plot lines to make room. So I get it. And they handled it well. And also, ultimately, Brienne's story, while I do really enjoy Brienne's story in Feast for Crows, it doesn't really have a whole lot of tension. Because the 2 characters she's looking for are characters who we know where they are, so it's just a matter of that. So, I mean, Podrick being over from the start and her just directly finding her, I thought all that was alright. And plus it led her to encounter Arya, which, as of in the books, this has never happened. So I'm really glad that this got to happen, because these are 2 characters who are very similar, and I've always wanted to see them interact. And I thought the interaction was well done. I love the dialogue between them about the swords and stuff. And we got a cool sword fight between Brienne and the Hound. And ultimately, it did a really nice job establishing how Arya's, like, gone. Like, this whole bit with the Hound just established something that never really clicked to me in the book. Is that Arya is gone. Like, she is past the point of redemption. Like, that sweet little girl, she's gone. Like, Arya's given up all hope. Reading her finish, she realizes she has nothing, and now it's just, like, gotta be tough. And I really hope Maisie Williams goes on to do amazing things, because she is a freaking amazing actress. Like, probably one of the best actresses to get discovered shows Maisie Williams. I mean, even more so than Emilia Clarke. I mean, Emilia Clarke's really good. Seriously, this girl's, like, freaking amazing, and I love the laugh she had when she realizes that Aunt Lysa's dead the Vale, which... Speaking of the Vale, Sansa's story was pretty good. I mean, I feel like there was a bit of a weak link. Oh yeah, first off, let me mention, did Jojen Reed die in the... Did I mention Jojen Reed dying in Bran's story? Well... Oh yeah, Bran's story, just real quick, I want to go back and say the whole part where Bran gets captured and Jon goes to rescue him, that felt kind of pointless, like, just to... It was well done, but it felt just like we're giving the characters something, Jon Snow something to do, we're giving Bran something to do, so it's not just them walking around. And what was I going to talk? Oh yeah. Jojen Reed dying, I didn't care because the show didn't really do a good job making me care about Jojen Reed. And also, him dying, I'm guessing that they're killing him off. Either one, it's just one of the many ways the show's just diverting from the books in such a major way. But at the same time, it could just also be the show saying Jojen doesn't do anything important in the other books, and they would know because Martin's given them his notes as to what's supposed to happen in the remaining books, so HBO can unfortunately spoil it for all those who want to read the books first. But anyway, so Sansa's story. The whole first half of this season was a little clunky and stuff. Like, there was stuff being stretched out, but I felt the second half had all the big beats. They were really good, and Sansa's story is another one that kind of suffered a bit in the beginning, because it involves the introduction of Ser Dontos, who I was wondering if they were still going to do that or not. But I'm glad they did. The only problem is that it felt very rushed, because in the book, like, the whole Ser Dontos thing, like, that's introduced, like, in Clash of Kings. So, like, when the Hound offers to take Sansa with him in the book, it's because Ser Dontos offered to rescue her. In the show, it's for reasons. And the only real problem, if I get it, it's like that's the most relevant point to bring up Ser Dontos, but at the same time, it's like... At the same time, it's like... I'm blanking out. At the same time, in regards to Ser Dontos, it's like... When he dies, it's like his death has no impact. Although I will say this, I did really like Ser Dontos' death. I mean, no, I'm blanking out again, a little tired. Ser Dontos' death didn't have any impact because it's just some guy we knew for a couple episodes. Whereas in the book, this escape has been built up for a while, and Ser Dontos is a character we've had for a while, in the books for a while. And trying to think what else. Sansa going to the Vale was well done. The whole fall bit, that was really well done. Sophia Turner's did a really good job of everything there. It was nice to have her get something to work with other than just cry face. And yeah, I mean, I am surprised that they did go a bit over Feast for Crows, because in the book, like, the final chapter right before the epilogue, which the show didn't do, which I'll get into that in a bit, the final chapter of the book is that fall, so I thought that was very interesting. But I thought the show, like, there was so much stuff going on and much bigger stuff. Like, I get why they didn't end it there, but it works well. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? Oh yeah, Theon stories. More or less what happens in the books, except I do prefer the books a bit better, just simply because I care about Theon a bit more, and also, like, it establishes... I like the reveal as Reek. Although, I feel like Theon's story is definitely going to go... We're going to get into Winter territory in Theon's story and Feast for Crows, because there's not much left to his story. It's like, there's something that happens up north with Theon, and that's it. Although, and yeah, like, Theon's sister trying to rescue him was kind of low. So yeah, Sansa's story, we're definitely getting Winter stuff. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's why George R. R. Martin released the sample chapter of Sansa, because he knew that they're going to get into a bit of her Winter stuff. He's like, okay, book fans, here's what happens here at the beginning of Winter. So that way, if you want to know before the show can do it for you, here it is. And I'm pretty sure the show's just their whole, we're going to spoil the books announcement they did now is because this is the season where they're going to do it. Because if they were going to spoil Winter starting in Season 6, they would have announced it right beforehand. But they're saying it now just because that's probably what's going to happen in Season 5. Alright. Daenerys' story, really good. Effects on the dragons are amazing. The visuals, Mirren, the whole city, just really well designed. Like, even though most of CGI, the shots of it were still really impressive, I thought. It was really well placed. I mean, they took Mirren a bit quicker than the books, but still, really well done. Although I am a little uncertain about the whole love romance plotline they have going between the Unsullied guy and the translator girl, but we'll have to wait and see about that. Dario's recasting surprised me, but alright. And yeah, but Daenerys' story, I don't have any complaints of it right off the bat. And I'm trying to think before I talk about King's Landing if there are any other stories I missed or neglected to talk about. If there are, there are none. So let's get into King's Landing, which, honestly, this is a story that, while it was slow at times, I thought ultimately it handled everything there well. First episode, we did a really good job just reestablishing everyone at King's Landing. Love how in the second episode we got like a good 20 minutes in the wedding. That whole bit was really well shot. Joffrey's death, really well done. I thought it was a little slow getting to the trial, but they were great. Like, I'm trying to think. But there were great, like, moments of Tyrion being visited in his cell. But yeah, I feel like that got drawn out a bit. But again, I think that's another one of those things where I don't think they needed, like, 10 episodes. They could just use 5 episodes. Because I guess they wanted to stretch that out so that way they could have the trial and the fight take place in half. Because, like, once you get to the trial, there's not much you can do to stretch Tyrion out. I'd rather have them stretch out the waiting time for the trial than, like, the trial in that himself. Because the trial was really well done. Peter Dinklage's monologue at one point, really well done. The fight scene between Oberyn and what's-his-face, really well done. Like, really good job making me care about Oberyn. I mean, not making him just some guy who dies. And yeah. So yeah, I really don't have anything else to say. My only complaint is season finale was really good. My only complaint was I wish they had introduced Lady Stonehand, and if you do, Stonehearter. If you don't know who she is, I won't ruin it for those who haven't read the books, but we get introduced to this character in the epilogue, and for some reason the show doesn't bother to introduce her. And again, I won't say anything more about her for those who haven't read the books, but it was one of those things where it's this big, because there are so many awesome big what the fuck moments, so many characters. I mean, oh my gosh, how did I forget to talk about Tyrion killing Shae? That was freaking amazing. That was not, I mean, it was awful and depressing, but really well done, really shocking one. Like, we had like 4 or 5 characters die in this one episode alone, and like the past, like, they've been ranking up the kill count in this last couple episodes. But anyway, but in the epilogue, we get this reveal of Lady Stoneheart, and I thought they were going to reveal it in Brienne's story, because Brienne encounters her in book 4, but they didn't, and I'm kind of bummed. I'm hoping they have their reasons, like there was just too, I mean, I don't think there was too much going on they didn't time, because I feel like they could have made time for it if they wanted to, so either they have something else in mind in terms of when they're going to reveal, like they're going to reveal her sometime in Brienne's story in Season 5, or the other possibility, which I don't hope not, that they're just not going to reveal her, which, I mean, would unfortunately make sense, I mean, because they did get rid of Cold Hands, and he was this cool mystical figure who guided Bran and this group to the Free-Eyed Crow, but at the same time, it feels really silly. I mean, this is something that was revealed in the epilogue, and it's clearly one of those things. I don't think Martin created Lady Stoneheart, who hasn't done much in the books as of yet. I don't think he put her in there for shock value. I think he put her in there because she was clearly going to do something important. So, I mean, if the show's not including her, it's either saying she's not important or we're just going to give it to someone or stuff to someone else. But we'll just have to wait and see. So yeah, Season 4, a little clunky at times. Again, I ultimately feel like the best way to do it would just having to give them like 5 or 6 more episodes. Some stories, like, worked really well and got more time. Others were stretched out because, like, you could have cut out a lot of the Wall and Bran scenes and stuff, but yeah. I mean, ultimately it worked out. We had, like, a bunch of really solid episodes towards the end that just really fleshed out a lot of the great big moments from the book, and I'm really looking forward to Season 5, which I am going to vlog about. So I'm going to blog about each episode just because I have read the book, so I can bring that comparative analysis in that I really like, and also it's a fun big show to talk about. So after tomorrow's premiere, assuming, I mean, I have HBO Go, so I should be okay. But, I mean, if I can, as soon as I watch it, I'll definitely vlog about Soap. Until then, take care, and if you haven't read the books, there's some big stuff coming in Season 5. Until next time, take care.